evening. As we go to air, firefighters are still trying to contain a blaze that's been burning in Whiteman Park for most of the afternoon. Homes have been evacuated as massive flames burn dangerously close to a housing estate. The popular tourist spot, Whiteman Park, was also evacuated. Reporter Kate Smithers is there. Kate, it's been a tough afternoon for firefighters and residents.
It has been, Paula. Strong winds haven't helped this fire. They've fuelled those flames and made it very difficult for crews down here on the ground. At the moment, an emergency warning is in place. That's the highest level. It means people who live in the suburb of Brabham, which is behind me, cannot return to their homes. The area has been evacuated. I'm told there are dozens of people at the evacuation point, which is in Beachborough at Altone Park Recreation Centre. I'm told at least 2 families chose to stay behind and defend their homes. The fire danger rating was listed as low to moderate today. Needless to say, no one was prepared for flames like this, not least the residents of Brabham near Whiteman Park.
Those houses will be being ruined.
The smoke so thick and so dark, the sky turned black. Water bombers flew into the danger zone, dropping hundreds of litres every pass. It helped, but the fire was relentless. It jumped Lord Street straight towards homes.
How's it going in there?
Terrible. We managed to pinch this off, but as you can see, it just keeps going all the time.
Half the area is lived in, the other half is still under construction. Residents in the northern end of the estate were told to evacuate as the flames roared closer.
We are just moving house today and I saw the fire. I'm so scared of it.
It started at 1:10 near the Whiteman Park Train Museum. Visitors were told to leave. 3 hours later, authorities started moving residents on too.
I'm not feeling good about that at all. I'm going to try and stay if I can.
My biggest concern is getting out and making sure that everybody's safe.
Properties bound by Lord, Henley, Murray and Woolcott Streets told it was too risky to return to their homes. Those who hadn't left prepared to defend.
Should have left,
but got the dogs in the car and then got told it was too late to leave, so started getting the shakes a bit, got them all back inside and ready just in case anything happens.
The smoke plume could be smelt from 60 kilometres away and seen from even further.
I was up at Bindoon and I was breathing smoke all the way.
An emergency that caught so many by surprise. Kate Smithers, 7 News.
Good morning, everybody. I'm TJ Holmes.
And I'm Rena Nina with the top stories on this Monday, December 15th. A frightening hostage drama unfolding in Sydney, Australia's busy financial district. A gunman took the hostages at a popular cafe not far from Sydney's famed Opera House during the middle of Monday morning rush hour. Hours into the ordeal, several hostages managed to escape bolting from an emergency exit. The hostage taker, apparently acting alone, forced hostages to hold Islamic flags up to the windows. At least one hostage required hospitalization.
Sydney under siege. An unidentified gunman holding at least a dozen hostages inside this Lindt Chocolate Cafe in Sydney, Australia. The gunman, who reportedly calls himself the Brother, has contacted 3 local news outlets making demands. 1, an ISIS flag in exchange for 1 hostage. 2, a call to the Prime Minister. He claims that he's planted 2 bombs in the cafe and 2 others in the city. The cafe, located in the centre of the city's bustling business district, but now hundreds of police officers shutting down the crowded Martin Place.
Our only goal tonight, and for as long as this takes, is to get those people that are currently caught in that building out of there safely.
It was during morning rush hour at 9:30 a.m. when a woman reportedly told police she saw a man carrying a suspicious bag.
The alleged offender opened the bag up and revealed a gun to her to get rid of her, and she went running down the stairs. She said, gun in the blue bag.
The hostage crisis then unfolding around 9:45 a.m. when the gunman entered the cafe. Just moments later, hostages seen pressing their hands against the window, fear etched on their faces, forced to unfurl a black flag bearing an Islamic phrase.
We don't know whether this is politically motivated, although obviously there are some indications that it could be.
6 agonising hours later, 3 hostages escape, 2 men darting out the door towards police. Seconds later, a 3rd man, an apparent cafe employee wearing a brown apron, joins them. And then over an hour later, 2 women escape, the panic on their faces telling it all.
When we saw that rush of escapees, we could see from up here at this vantage point, the gunman got extremely agitated as he realised those 5 had got out. He started screaming orders at the people inside. The hostages remained behind.
Now, we just want to tell our viewers exactly where this cafe is located. It is in the heart of the city, in the CBD. The US consulate very close. The Reserve Bank of Australia, as is the 7 Network, which you heard the reporter there, across the road. So clearly this gunman choosing this location specifically so that he could get maximum coverage.
A young mum getting her coffee before work and a cafe manager have been killed by a violent criminal after a 17-hour siege in Martin Place ended in the early hours of this morning. The lone gunman was shot by police. New South Wales Premier Mike Baird has announced flags on all government buildings will fly at half-mast today to honour those who lost their lives. They are Sydney mother of 3, Katrina Dawson, and Tori Johnson, a manager at the Link Cafe. 4 people are being treated in hospital after being injured in the ordeal, including a police officer who suffered a gunshot wound to the face. The siege came to a deadly end as a sniper in the Channel 7 building uttered the chilling words, "Hostage down, window 2."
After 17 hours, the siege came to a dramatic end. Heavily armed police stormed the Link Cafe. They're seen throwing in several flash grenades, then the sound of gunfire. The violent end seemed to have been triggered by the escape of 5 hostages just moments earlier, just after 2 a.m. local time. They're seen running, arms in the air, down Martin Place and turning into Elizabeth Street. Then, the frightening scene of a lone hostage, clearly exhausted, staggering down Martin Place and collapsing at the feet of 2 police officers. What followed was the sound of gunfire from inside the cafe, believed to be from the lone gunman.
We heard from one police officer saying that a hostage was down, and at that point the police moved in.
It's understood the gunman died at the scene along with a male hostage. Another hostage, a female in her 30s, has died in hospital. A further 4 hostages are being treated for injuries, including a woman in her 40s with a gunshot wound to her leg. A male police officer being treated for a gunshot pellet graze to the face, and a woman in her 30s with back injuries. The gunman has been identified as Manharon Monis. In 2013, he was convicted over offensive letters he wrote to families of dead Australian soldiers. Last year, he was charged with being an accessory to the murder of his ex-wife. In October, the self-proclaimed spiritual leader was charged with sexual offences.
It was the act of an individual. This should never destroy or change the way of our life.
Manharon Monis began his deadly hostage drama at 9:44 yesterday morning Sydney time. As police locked down Sydney's CBD, the situation took an even more sinister twist. Terrified hostages were forced to hold up a black flag in the window. The Arabic words on the flags read, "There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of God." It's believed those words are linked to a Syrian extremist group with links to Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. Manharon Monis appears to have chosen the Link Cafe to ensure immediate and nationwide coverage. It sits directly across the Channel 7 building. Police soon took up position inside the newsroom, using it as a vantage point. Officers then evacuated 7 staff from the building. At the same time, other buildings in Martin Place were evacuated, including Premier Mike Baird's office, the Reserve Bank of Australia and the US Embassy.
Hostage out, hostage out.
After 7 hours held captive, 3 terrified hostages ran from the cafe. 2 panicked customers from the front door, then a Lint worker makes a run for it through a side door. After police spoke to the hostages, they were able to confirm fewer than 30 people were being held inside the cafe. At 5 p.m, 2 more hostages escaped, 2 female staff members. It would be another 9 exhausting, terrifying hours before more hostages ran free from the scene, and the siege came to a deadly end.
We're standing close to the site of a very terrible incident, and that was the occurrence of the theft of some Christmas cheer, very kind donations from generous people here in the area. 3950 Clayton Road in Concord, California. It's the headquarters for the Salvation Army in Contra Costa County. They backed their truck up right here, and you can see the fence that was cut through. This the remains of the lock here. It's a substantial lock, a very heavy-duty lock. that was cut through. They left one of the tools. This has been all dusted for fingerprints, along with the container itself. The Concord Police Department were, I might say, they were jolly on the spot. They came really quick. You can see this container was actually filled from floor to ceiling, completely to where I'm standing right here. Is entirely filled. And now we have some of the remains of some families' items that are still needed to give out. Here, about 1/3 of the items were taken. There were approximately 48 families of our Adopt a Family program. The belongings were stored in that particular facility, and 14 of those families had been totally taken in terms of their gifts. Very sad, especially this time of year. My suspicion is that because of the location of where these things were stored and just how everything happened, someone had to have seen these items being placed in the container where they were put into storage. Thus far, we've had some generous people calling us. People have indicated that they would like to replace those donations. We're in the process of trying to sort that out right now. If you'd like to make donations of any kind, you can please stop by our facility, 3950 Clayton Road in Concord.
That dramatic rescue caught on camera. A woman trapped in her car in rushing water, the car in danger of being swept away after she swerves to avoid another vehicle. Fortunately, she was able to call 911 for help, and ABC's Matt Gutman has the story.
Oh my God, the water's coming in. It's getting higher.
This morning, the dramatic call for help from the woman trapped in this car Monday, right there in the middle of Massachusetts' raging Mill River. As the rushing water rises, so does the panic in her voice.
It's too deep for me to get out, and it's rapid. It's moving real fast.
The driver, able to use her car's OnStar system, she says she swerved into the river to avoid an oncoming car.
Stop right now. Every once in a while it moves a little, but it's stuck.
Finally, as her car fills with water, dangerously close to being swept away, help arrives.
By the time we arrived 4 minutes later, the current had taken her car approximately 150 yards down the river.
Firefighters seen here pulling the driver from the rising river. She's in the hospital this morning, recovering. But others not as lucky. On average, 300 Americans die a year in submerged cars. So what should you do if you find yourself in a situation like this? I found out firsthand, all under the careful guidance of the Indiana State Police and expert Dr. Gordon Giesbrecht. One key life-saving tip, don't touch your phone until you're out of the car.
You've got about a 1 minute period where the car is floating when you can open the windows before the water gets up above the side windows.
Another tip, keep a sharp object or a window punching tool like this one in the car. In situations like this, you want to be your own hero and get out of the car before it sinks. For Good Morning America, Matt Gutman, ABC News, Miami.
Just reach up and just press the button.
It starts easy enough with a touch of a button, but it spurs a much bigger debate involving body cameras.
It's giving you certainly a video archive of what happened, but it's not giving you every piece of information the officer senses or knows at the time.
Lieutenant Mark Wood is spearheading the IMPD's experiment. 12 cameras used primarily in traffic situations only for the next 60 days. There are a lot of important issues to iron out. Storing data, storage costs, staffing, how long to keep video, and who gets to request it. In this case, even notification during traffic stops is getting close scrutiny.
6 of them are being asked to inform the public that they're being stopped, that they're being videoed. And the other 6, I'm asking them not to do that.
There are a lot of questions to be answered.
We want to see different type fisheye lenses, different types of camera systems. Again, a matter of wearability. Some of them are as small as a packet of cigarettes. Some of them are as large as a large pack of Duracell batteries. So, I mean, we have to look to make sure that whatever we end up going with is wearable, that we're not going to have any issues with it, the technical aspects of it perform like they say they're going to perform, and to make sure that we can actually get the video off and we have some quality stuff.
A satanic display will soon stand next to the Capitol Christmas tree, and it's got people talking.
We all have different opinions. There are a ton of opinions out there, and it seems like everybody is certainly expressing them these days.
The display will be up from December 21st through the 23rd, and it's intended to spark conversation.
We would like to participate in a dialogue about religious pluralism in Michigan
and the diversity of beliefs that celebrate the holiday season.
After hearing about a possible nativity display at the Capitol, the temple decided it wanted to express its beliefs with its own holiday statue.
It's a snake wrapped around the Cross of Lorraine, or the Satanic Cross, which is a symbol used in modern Satanism. And the snake is offering a gift, which is an open book. And it also says, the greatest gift is knowledge.
The Satanic Temple's display will be placed here on the Capitol's north lawn. While not too many people are pleased with the idea, they understand why it's allowed.
Freedom of speech, and there are a lot of things that go up that I disagree with, but I guess that's what this country is all about.
Some are going to use their freedoms to ignore it.
I don't think there's anything that we can do about it, except maybe not participate with it.
But Blackmore says there's more to it.
I also hope it shows, it demonstrates that we all are empowered to challenge a system that we feel, perhaps is restrictive or unfair.
The cleanup after the storm. We saw a lot of scenes like this across the Bay Area today. This is from Lafayette. PG&E crews out working to restore power to residents on Spring Hill Court, where a tree came down this morning. Ground 4 has team coverage of the storm aftermath. Let's begin with our chief meteorologist, Jacqueline Bennett, with the latest on the forecast. Jacqueline.
Well, Pam, we've seen a few lingering showers out there today. Right now, we still have a little bit of rain over the South Bay, but largely we're dry. This is our look outside from the San Mateo Bridge. You can see a little peek here of clear skies, but we do have a lot of cloud cover out there still, at least near the coastline. Let's take a look at some of our storm totals out there from the past 36 hours. Now, these totals in the North Bay were actually some of the highest. You can see near Petaluma, it was about 5 inches of rain there. Same thing in Novato, down toward Mill Valley, 4.5 inches of rain. Richmond picking up over 4 inches of rain as well. Now, zooming down towards the East Bay, a lot of totals in the 3-inch range, up to 4 inches in places like Berkeley. San Francisco, 3.5 inches of rain in the past 36 hours. San Bruno Mountain, about 6 inches of rain there. San Bruno itself, 3.5. As we move down towards the South Bay, you'll see totals again largely in the 3-inch range, from 3 to 4 inches. That's a lot of what we saw out there over the past 36 hours with this storm. Now, taking a look at what's going on right now, again, we do have a little bit of rain. Oh, it looks like the Ground 4 logo is blocking it, so I'm going to move it around here a little bit so you can see it. San Jose, we do have that more moderate rain kind of skirting the area there. Also over the coastline, you can see a few spotty showers, and that's pretty much where most of the activity is going to stay, I think, for the rest of the evening. A couple wayward showers are possible. We are still under a flood advisory for all of the Bay Area. See the areas highlighted in green here on your screen, just in case some of these heavier cells pop up, some of these thunderstorm cells, and cause some minor flooding issues in that immediate area. Taking a look at your 7-day around the Bay forecast, tomorrow is going to be dry. Temperatures in the 50s and low 60s though only, so a little cool. Sunday also mainly dry. By about 7 o'clock Sunday evening though, a decent storm front is going to start approaching the Bay Area. We'll see rain kick off by 10 o'clock. We'll see some heavy rain, especially in the South Bay. It'll linger into Monday morning, and then more rain in store. Showers at least for Tuesday into Wednesday.
Well, this storm really hit residents in the North Bay hard. In Guerneville and Monterey, hundreds of residents were forced to evacuate. Rains filled the Russian River and flooded nearby homes and businesses. As Ground 4's Teresa Estacio reports, despite the bad news, residents rallied to help out one another.
This is the Russian River in Guerneville. Water levels swelled and spilled over into nearby creeks and neighborhoods. Like this one here. Watch this resident ride. Officials say that 300 residents were forced to find shelter away from their flooded homes. Many came out to help those in need, like this family here.
Take the off of work and go for a walk, see if anybody needs help. Check on our parents that are down the road, see if they need help.
Over across the way, more than 2 feet of water swirled around this Pee Wee Golf and Arcade.
When we always come here, we know the guy who runs it, so we'll make sure we keep bringing our local money over here and to help everybody else here in our community.
I hope he brought up all his arcade games in the game room over there, because that would be a big loss for him. You can see the putters inside his little pro shop there that are underwater.
Officials believe the worst may be over for now.
Current situation is we still have a few roadways that are flooded and not accessible.
You think that the worst is over?
We believe so, yeah. We think the worst of the rain. We didn't get the wind we were afraid was going to come in. That was going to be the major problem, but that seems to have missed us.
But no matter, this area has been hit hard, and it will take a while for some to recover. Here in Guerneville, Teresa Stasio, KRON 4 News.
Westbound Highway 37 in Nevada is back open after it was under 4 feet of water yesterday. This is what it looked like near the 101 interchange. Just 24 hours ago, the downpour flooded the highway, forcing westbound lanes to completely shut down. Crews finished cleaning up some of the standing water in the right lane this morning, and now both lanes are open. Both directions of Highway 101 in Menlo Park are back open following massive flooding there. Flooding forced the highway to shut down overnight. The flooding was on the southbound side of the freeway between Marsh and Willow Roads. Earlier this morning, the crews were still diverting drivers as they continued to clean up the mess there, but now all lanes are back open. And we continue to cover the aftermath of the storm in Redwood City. Along the 1900 block of Bayshore Road, some mobile homes flooded during the storm. KRON 4's Mike Pelton has details on that.
And this is one of the shallowest areas. Some of the water behind me is 4 feet deep. Now, the Redwood City Fire Department tells me there are city pumps that are working to get water out of here, but they can only work so fast. So some residents took matters into their own hands this morning. Now, it's actually 2 mobile home parks that flooded. Take a look next door at the Lamar Trailer Park, where one resident there, as it turns out, was able to borrow a pump from work, and residents are pitching in by the bucketful to get the water out of the park, which sits at one of the lowest elevations in Redwood City. Now, today we've seen people wading in knee-high water to get into their homes. This water was so deep yesterday, the fire department brought in small boats to rescue people. Despite some voluntary evacuations, several people stayed behind.
I was listening all night while I was trying to sleep, just trying to hope, it didn't keep going up and up.
It's nerve-wracking because you're all wet and you're worried about your place going completely under the water.
Redwood City fire officials tell me that as many as 50 people spent the night at a shelter set up at the College of San Mateo. Redwood City fire crews were out here evaluating the water level today and told me they would work with the Red Cross if some residents were not able to return home. In Redwood City, Mike Pelton, KRON 4 News.
Let's get right to that breaking news. A school massacre in Pakistan, the deadliest in years. This is the scene outside the Army Public School right now. You see there in the background those heart-sick parents lined up waiting for word about their children.
And this is what we know at this moment. More than 120 were killed when gunmen stormed that school in the northwestern part of the country. The overwhelming majority of the victims are students from grades 1 to 10. Dozens of other children wounded in the siege, and they were seen being carried out of the school to ambulances.
The Taliban is already claiming responsibility for the brutal attack. ABC's Martha Raddatz tracking all the latest. Good morning, Martha.
George, this is a city used to violence, but nothing like this. There are children as young as 6 years old at this school, up to 18 years old, and many more than 100 dead. It began with a small number of Taliban gunmen storming into the school, going room to room, opening fire. Suicide vests also used. The Pakistani military responding, and parents began flooding to the school to try desperately to find their children. Most of the dead are children of military officers. And this morning, Malala Yousafzai, the Pakistani girl who survived a Taliban attack, issued a statement saying, "I am heartbroken by this cold-blooded act of terror, but we will never be defeated." George?
But Martha, why this school? Why now?
Well, the Taliban quickly claimed responsibility, saying the attack was in revenge for the Pakistani authorities going after the Taliban, and clearly they wanted to go after the military and their children.